We're still not leaving. So, hey y'all. Happy end of the second month. I hope you're still at the gym. I saw somebody post the other day that January 13th is quit day. That most of the people that make resolutions around working out quit by January 13th. And you know what? I'm a lot quicker than that. I did not wait till the 13th to quit mine. But I'm bummed. Yeah. Did any of my moderators, did y'all make some workout resolution? Thumbs up? No. Yeah. When I was 50, I stopped. Hey, y'all. When I was 50, I stopped buying exercise equipment to dry my sweaters. I'm not even moved by the Peloton. Like, if you're excited, like, sweating that much, I don't know if we can be friends. So, that's a lot of sweating inside of your house, right? Any of you guys in here, are y'all Pelotoners? Are y'all just up there with, your shredded abs and you can, like, put a remote control in your shoulder blade? No. Yes, ladies, Sarah has a question. Oh, I like that. That sounds so, like... Kiki said she was on her Peloton now. And she's typing. I mean, I have shredded abs. I just keep them covered with my one other ab so that people aren't looking. They already stare enough. So, all right, ladies, somebody had a question. If you want to jump in, fat and sassy here. That's funny. We will. Oh, thanks, you guys. Oh, good job. Yeah, there was a full school board meeting about me in Southern Florida today. Who is she? How did they find her? The same way they're going to find all of you other amazing advocates on the interweb. On the interweb. All right, Miss Shannon, we're going to start with you since we have matching hair.
All right. Let's see here.
No rush. Take your time.
Okay.
We're just all waiting. No pressure.
Okay. Well, they're coming in.
Read the whole thing, Shannon. Read the whole thing.
Read the whole thing. Okay, I've got an anonymous question here.
Okay.
I'm going to read it all. It came in through the email.
Okay.
I have worked as a special education teacher for 17 years. Last year, my district force transferred a special education teacher from the school that I am in to another position because they had not been able to fill that position. When doing this, they left our building scrambling to meet the needs of the same number of students with one less teacher. Happens all the time, right? However, this essentially meant that we could no longer meet all the needs. Several students were receiving design instruction on the computer facilitated by a para, also during my lunch period. I felt that it was my responsibility to advocate for these students, essentially putting a target on my back. Small changes were made, but we are still not able to meet the minutes written into the IEP for consultation with other teachers and providers in many of the accommodations. The responsibility of all the paperwork falls on us. The amount of additional time that I have put in is sickening. As a parent of a special education child, I would be devastated to see what is happening. How do we as teachers advocate for our students without repercussions from the district? Our special education director just does not understand the amount of time required to meet these needs as they are written and are essential for our students' success. Yes, I have had the union involved. They have helped. The union in Iowa has lost many of our rights.
So, first of all, thank you for serving kids. I love teachers. I love special ed teachers. I love general ed teachers. I love paras. They have changed the life of thousands of children that I've advocated for and my own child. Whether you like this answer or not, I'm going to give it to you. This is a money issue. It is. 85% of your funds in your district, go do a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act, and see where the money is. The money is spent 85% on the district level. People at the district office, not principals, not assistant principals, not teachers, not special education teachers. That's where the money is. And so the things that your district thinks is important is fully funded. It's fully funded. Whether you like that answer or not, I could care less. I care that you don't care about your teachers enough to support them. Teachers should get a free 7-course lunch every Friday, right? But you know that you're not supporting your teachers. School districts know that they're not hiring enough paras. And don't tell me about the shortage, because you can't tell me a single school district in America that's running low on varsity coaches, that's running low on somebody for the debate team. Sorry. So whether you like the answer or not, the truth is, it's not about advocates, it's not about some lady on the TikTok. The truth is that those that are in comfortable seats at the high district level, 85% of your funds go there. Why? When the people that are boots on the ground are not getting support, and you're driving your teachers out of the district. I'm not. You are, because you don't honor them, you don't serve them, you don't support them, you don't train them, you don't equip them, and you don't staff your elementary schools. But I guarantee you could. You sure could. I know every 7th grade football team in Texas ain't nobody running low on coaches. And so thank you, my love, for doing that. Unfortunately, in the thousands of kiddos that I serve and the advocates that work for me, I've never seen a teacher that did this and reached out and there weren't repercussions. There's a million great districts, but unfortunately, your experience is more common than not. Somebody said, how do we prove this point to our school district? Well, let me just share something with you. Today, I received a 15-page letter from the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights scorching a school district that I filed an OCR complaint at, Office of Civil Rights. And at this point, the traction that I get is from the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights, which is why we train so much on federal filings. And it was on fire, or as we say in Mexico, el mucho, el fuego, which is not Spanish, but I feel like it's close enough. And when the parent gives me consent, I will provide you a full 15-page copy of that decision.
All right, someone said, why is an IEP meeting 4 hours?
I don't know why an IEP meeting is 4 hours. I don't schedule meetings for more than an hour and a half. I might schedule a meeting if it was an initial provision of services for 2 hours on my book, but usually an hour for a regular annual IEP meeting is plenty. I do about 5 to 6 IEP meetings a year. So at 4 hours, I think that we need a new application of lipstick, and we certainly all need a snack. But a lot of advocates bill by the minute.
Ms. Swanky says, I had an ARD and my evaluator said we are not allowed to request reevaluation without her being there.
What? Who said that?
The evaluator.
You know what? I have found many people this week, I won't tell you where, in Florida, who literally were the ruler of the entire world. I had a lady Monday morning, which is not a good time to start yelling at me. I'm ready about Tuesday at lunch. She just started screaming, "Are you a psychologist?" Ma'am, you're not even on the screen. I feel like you should move into the screen if there's going to be yelling so I can see your outfit. So the reason you're yelling is because you're ill-equipped at your profession. So you might have finished the state or national credentials to apply for a job and have been hired. It doesn't mean you're qualified. Qualified means you're good at it, you love it, and you're bringing about change.
Okay, what are my rights if the IEE didn't test for autism, but autism was supposed to be tested for?
So then I would go back to the outside evaluator and say, we just need to finish and put an addendum on this evaluation to complete all components. Somebody, Kiki asked,
what if admin...
I have to just say this, sorry, I love her. What's a yelling appropriate outfit? I need one. Well, first of all, it should come with matching earrings and bracelet. If you're going to yell at me, I'm going to need to see, are you 7? Are you 97? Do you smell like mothballs? Is there a reason that you're so unpleasant?
What if admin are putting quotas or caps on psychologist numbers for special education testing?
Happens all the time across these great United States of America. We're not unaware of the shenanigans. We just had somebody in our 2-day training, and the lipstick, yes, the lipstick is Revlon matte. We'll go over that in another training. We just had an evaluator who actually had to quit her district because the principal walked in and told her after the evaluation to change her numbers on the students' diagnostic profile. That ain't me doing it. That's your people. Mm-hmm.
Is there a limit on what is considered small group for testing purposes?
No.
Is there a limit on what is considered small group for testing purposes?
No. Something that we're going to train on tonight in the academy. Alicia, can I go all crazy and offer them a code? Okay, now I'm gonna make her crazy. So, one of the things that we're starting this series is least restrictive environment tonight in the academy. The legal term is extent of non-participation. Sometimes that LRE that you want has more kids than the special ed room. So you need to make sure that you know what you're asking for. Thank you. The pink vases I made by hand when I drove to home, etc. It didn't take me a long time. I just, got all my glue gun and aren't they great? Yes.
Can a school district require a BIP?
A school district can request a BIP. I don't think that I've ever had a school district request a BIP, or obviously a functional behavior assessment that wasn't necessary for a kiddo, so that we can, the point of the FBA and the behavior intervention plan or the behavior intervention support plan is to serve this kiddo who has behavioral needs, right? We're supposed to educate a child in all of their educational needs. And if you have behavior, we can bring supports and strategies and goals and support time around that.
My son's IEP has info about behaviors he used to do in the past. It is noted pass on the IEP. Remove? ?
So, you certainly want to show a history, right? Depending on their eligibility, that history might have waned. We might have done something that really helped him be successful with his behaviors before, and now they've presented. Maybe it's because it's a new staff, a new campus. But unless the history is, a lie, or it's trying to... I had some history the other day that said the children were in the NICU for 10 weeks. They were in 5th grade. We don't need that information, right? So if the information is pertinent to the decisions of the IEP to make decisions, then I would have that in there.
Okay, how do you pass a student with an IEP that doesn't come to school?
So, I am all for implementing the IEP. I'm all for the student accepting their accommodations, strategies, support, supplementary aids. If the student doesn't, then the student doesn't. So, you can't make a child come to school. You can't make a child put their glasses on. You can't make a child use their assistive technology. So if the parent doesn't make the student available to the school-based members, then there's no onus on them to implement the IEP. Bonnie, I'm going to let you jump in because, Shannon has to put in some more hairspray.
All right, perfect. So can you list who is supposed to be at an IEP meeting? Who are the major players?
Yeah, the major players. So the major players, we call them in the federal government stakeholders. So number one is the LEA representative. So you have the SCA, which is the state education agency, and then the LEA is the local education agency. That's the campus that you're dealing with. Usually it's going to be a principal, a vice principal, an assistant principal. Sometimes a counselor can take the certification requirements in the state to be the LEA rep. So you're going to have a principal, a general education teacher. You always have a general education teacher because they're always general education students first. You're going to have a special education teacher. You're going to have somebody who's able to deliver and interpret and answer questions about evaluations. And of course, you're going to have the most amazing person, the parent of the individual with a disability.
Do I need to have another ARD for the evaluator to give permission to have the reevaluation?
So we don't need permission for, you don't need permission for a reevaluation. Once a student is already in special education, you cannot legally deny them new testing. Listen to me. Once a student is already in special education, the LEA cannot deny new testing. Now, if it's within a year window, then that's different. But let's say that you've never had music therapy, and all of you should go in tomorrow and ask for a music therapy evaluation and tell them Karen sent you. That'll make for a fun Tuesday, right? Or if you've never had assistive technology and written expression, and you've never had occupational therapy and sensory, or it's been over a year and you believe that there's been a change, right? We do evaluations for 3 things, right? Do we need present levels? Is a student have a new eligibility or doesn't have an eligibility? Or do we need new present levels and to see if they even need special education? So never let them tell you no. I don't let people tell me no. Well, can I just answer another question, Bonnie? Yes, let's do that. Okay, so this week I went to a school and said student needs an IEP, a special education evaluation. Now she's already in a 504, which we all know. Can I get an amen? That means you should have already triggered child find because she already has an identified disability instead of suspected. And they were going to tell me in their great state that you had to have 2 types of intervention and that, I don't know, a flamingo had to fly over the school building and they had to win state and I don't even know what she was saying. I said, ma'am, you're going to do the evaluation. You've already denied the child find because the 504 should trigger it unless the parent has signed that we don't want the evaluations. I don't really care what your state says. Your state cannot reduce the benefit of IDEA. In January 11th, 2011, please print this out. January 11th, 2011, the OSEP, Office of Special Education Programs, said, hey, state education agencies, just want to remind you that RTI, MTSS, UPS, FedEx, OPI does not stop when a parent requests special education testing. Please do not let the fake interventions stop your testing. Guess what you're never going to get back for your kid? Time. Your kid desperately needs you to advocate for them.
Hey, my son is waiting for an outplacement and is home because the school can't meet his needs. What advice can you offer?
So when you say outplacement, do you mean that the district has said that they couldn't educate him and they need another school to educate him? Is that what you mean?
Not sure. We'll wait for some clarity on that.
We'll wait for some clarity. Hang on 1 second while I get some clarity to my phone called, a plug. Power. It seems that power is important.
And when you get back, Karen, can you explain the different trainings you have coming up? Because we have people that are from California asking if you'll have training available for them. And so tell them about the 2-day coming up in person and the virtual, please.
Yes, I'm trying to plug in my phone. Can somebody, I need like a technical assist from a young person. Hold on. Okay. If you make that noise, it says from a young person. Hold on. Okay. If you make that noise, it helps everything. I don't know if y'all know that. If you make that noise, it helps everything. I don't know if y'all know that. It's a state law in Texas. So we have training on demand because you guys are super busy. So you could go right now and take our 2-day training on demand. It's at specialeducationacademy.com. We have a virtual, which will be a live 2-day, and it's only virtual people. So we'll have people from Alaska to Miami. You can log on for the live 2-day. And then we have an in-person March 17th and 18th in Houston. So come on down. Yes, I'm from the great state of Texas, where it's a requirement for your hair to be this big. So, right, Shannon? Yes, it's actually state law. Where actually when you leave the hospital when you're born, you get your birth certificate, a hairspray and a back comb. Yeah. Is that what they give out in other states? I feel like we should. I feel like if we had a little more hairspray and a little more back combing, we could all get along.
Okay, you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. My son has failing grades, has ADHD, ODD, impulse disorder. School is stating he doesn't require anything.
Oh.
And doesn't have our 504 or an IEP. What do I do?
We like that name, Kiki. I don't even know what anything is. Did they give them an anything evaluation? Because I'd like to see the anything evaluation results. So here's the great thing about testing. It does 2 things, right? It identifies and eliminates. And unless you have an evaluation saying that he don't need anything, which I've never seen that, then it's a no for us and we'll need full testing. So just real quick. So somebody said, are you saying a psych needs to be at every annual review? No, I'm just saying that somebody from the district has to be able to implement and answer questions about any evaluation. So let's say the great psychologist of Indiana did a test 2 years ago. I roll in as their advocate and I have questions about the numbers and the findings. If somebody's there not to answer those questions, we don't have a convened IEP.
Yeah, so someone said if a foster child moves to the placement center, who is then over their IEP?
So I'm assuming that you mean by placement center out of district placement. So when a school district decides that they don't have the capability of educating the student on the campus or in the district, we consider out of district placement. That out of district placement then delivers the IEP, but the school of record oversees it. It's always the school district student.
Should schools be able to use poor attendance to kick students out of special education?
So you know, I feel like y'all are making these questions up. So there's no kicking you in or out of education or special education unless you're the football coach. But I'm here all night. So you either are in special education because you have a need, or you're dismissed from special education because you no longer have a need. If a student is having a lot of absences and because you no longer have a need. If a student is having a lot of absences and we don't really take a robust look at why that's happening, then that's terrible on our part.
My child is in the FLASH program and hasn't had a teacher. Can he get compensatory time?
Did you say that he's in the PASS program?
FLASH, like super fast.
I don't even know what that means, but if your child is not being delivered his entire IEP, I would ask for compensatory time. FLASH.
I feel like if Christina was on, she would be upset by this question, or triggered maybe. I don't know. But someone said strapping my kid to his chair at a desk with a safety belt is not in his IEP. Is that legal?
It's not in anybody's IEP. It would make me want to strap the teacher to something. So unfortunately, we see that a lot. And you have to go in and light them up and let them know that that's stopping immediately.
Okay, can I get no homework added to my dyslexia ADHD daughter's IEP? It's so bad with homework right now.
So I often get limited homework, meaning that, you know, Bonnie and Tabitha are going to work on it in 10 minutes. So, you know, and we work on it for 10 minutes and then that's it. Contrary to popular belief on the social media, no data exists anywhere that giving a child more work to do that has a disability is beneficial. So there's that.
Oh, sorry. Someone says about 7 times they're interested in your training and you have a lot of knowledge, but they would like to know what your background in education is.
My background in education is baptism by fire. So I started advocating. My background in education is baptism by fire. So I started advocating in 1907. I feel like it was 1907. I don't even know when it was. 26 years now. And so my child had an IEP, and then I just started helping other families. I began on a voluntary call list for Texas Education Agency. And then I just became obsessed with the law, like obsessed, and I'm still obsessed with the law because that's what we have to follow. And you can get one of these, it's in the link, because it's just kind of like our playbook. What's sad is I can count on one hand any educator that has a copy of this, or what's sad is I can count on one hand any educator that has a copy of this, or has been fully trained on this. And so I began to help other families, and I was like, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. And so I began to help other families, and I was like, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. And I just saw that it was a systemic problem because we've penalized teachers and not equipped them. and then we make this sort of fake adversarial thing between parents and the school district. And at the end of the day, the only one that's ever lost is the student. So no, I've never, in all capital letters, worked as a special education teacher, but I have, meaning the parent must give consent to provide both of those. Meaning the parent must give consent to provide both of those. And to provide both of those. The phrasing, I hope it was good phrasing. So this is the yummy special education federal law. It's the only thing that we train on Special Education Academy. Yeah, somebody asked if you know good education lawyers. Somebody asked in New Jersey. Let me just tell you this. Texas has over 600,000 students on an IEP. There's only 6 full-time special ed attorneys in Texas. So when you're going to go find an attorney for special education, you better make sure that that's what they do for a vocation, and it's just not a combination, because special education law is a beast. There are some states, I live in a state where I'm allowed to represent families at special education due processes, and I do that. But you need to make sure that if you're going to hire an attorney, they really know about special education and 504. Otherwise, it could be a large amount of money that you're spending, and you might not get the outcome that you're expecting.
My IEP 7th grader isn't utilizing content mastery and refuses to do work in class. Suggestions?
Tell me the question again, because I was busy, being... Just, can you ask me the question?
My IEP 7th grader isn't utilizing content mastery and isn't doing the work in class. Do you have any suggestions?
So what do you mean by content mastery? That I cannot stand that phrase, content mastery. So if they're not using components of their IEP, if they're denying them accommodations, supplementary aid services, support time, that's different. Content mastery has gone crazy all over school, so I would have to know the specificity around that. Yeah.
Let's see.
So somebody asked me, this is just so good, I can't help it. Somebody asked me if I've been endorsed by or worked with COPA. No, I've not been endorsed by COPA. I feel like, though, like if I had like a race car, I could get endorsed by somebody. No, but I am certainly a member of COPA. Yeah.
Okay, here's one. Child tested out of speech. They want to remove the supports. Should I just agree?
So when you say child tested out of speech, I would make sure that that evaluation was done in all 9 areas of speech concerns and needs. If you disagree, I would try to buy some time by saying I disagree with this evaluation, its contents, its data, its summary and conclusion, and request an IEE at the expense of the district, and then request that the district let me buy a little time till that IEE comes back, and then based on those findings, we can make a decision. I can't tell you how many kids have unqualified for speech. Lo and behold, I come in, we get proper testing, and oh, they do still have a speech deficit.
My daughter is in the 4th grade and has a 1st grade reading level, and she is up for IEP renew. And that's it. I guess what suggestions would you have?
Say the question again.
On the reading. 4th grader on a 1st grade reading level.
Does she have an IEP?
Yes, annual IEP. It's coming up.
If you have an annual IEP of a 4th grade that reads on 1st grade reading level, first of all, if it was mine, I would have a very robust talk with you about modification. That's such a massive gap. I do want to answer a question that was a response to somebody just said, if they do testing, then he doesn't qualify, you can't disagree. That's incorrect. Everything is an IEP decision. You can disagree with the font. You can disagree with the mascot. So it doesn't matter who brings content, summary, letters, or data to the IEP team. That is a criterion based, and they bring those numbers, but it's an IEP decision. It's the whole team's decision, because the parent might have information that's different. The school might have information that's different. So that's not, if that was the truth, then we wouldn't go to IEP meetings. Y'all just send a letter and say we made a decision. That's why there's 5 stakeholders that look at all the data that's brought to the table and make a decision. I have had lots of kiddos that didn't meet eligibility, and we actually found them eligible. And I've had lots of kiddos that said they continue to meet eligibility, but we agreed that it wasn't really purposeful for them to continue with that eligibility.
Is there a difference between language therapy and speech therapy?
That's a good trick question, and I love a good trick question. So it depends on where you are in the United States. The paperwork in Texas will say, for instance, psychological services, where in another state it might say a social worker, where in another state it might say emotional behavioral. So it's semantics. So you're looking for a speech and language deficit. Speech impairment is the federal eligibility. So whatever services we call that in your state, if they meet the criteria, then that's how you have services.
Best accommodations for inattentive ADHD.
So it depends on what the ADHD is, right? So I could have 10 kids that were 10 years old that had one eligibility of ADHD, and it's their unique circumstances. So the federal law says that we write an IEP to enable the student to make progress appropriate in light of their unique circumstances. So your unique circumstances are not the eligibility, it's how that eligibility shows up.
I sent an initial request for evaluation. Meeting was scheduled 7 weeks later. What are my options?
So unfortunately, because we don't know our options from the gate, it's hard to invoke your rights when you didn't do them at that time. So when you request an evaluation, the school district, the local education agency, has 15 days to respond to your request, right? And so when I send a request, I always say, this is my formal request for Billy Smith to have special education testing. Areas of suspected disability are attention, behavior, emotional, and learning issues. That usually captures everything, and maybe, language. We look forward to coming in and signing notice and consent. That's my whole email, right? And so if you want a copy of that, just send us a direct message. We'll give you a copy of it. Short, simple, to the point. We don't need some long dissertation from the federal code and so says this. We look forward to going in and signing notice and consent. And then based on that 15 days, and I've had principals that say, we're going to take our 15 days. And I'm like, yes, ma'am, I believe you. So after that 15 days is concluded, then, they will give us a yes or no. And based on their response, then we, execute our procedural rights as parents.
Someone asked, what is an IEE?
An independent education evaluation. So when you agree with the evaluation done by the school in totality or parts, you can indicate that to the school and request that they provide you an IEE based on that total evaluation or specific areas at the expense of the district. Almost always the district is going to grant that. Not always, because almost is not always, but almost always.
What is the difference between regular PE with accommodations and adaptations versus adapted PE?
So an adaptation means I've changed it, right? So I feel like that's just semantics. So adaptive PE is a related service under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. So that means you have an adaptive PE teacher providing you services that help support the general education teacher. You could have modifications to PE. So the law says accommodations or modifications. So I was in Maine Monday. I'm sorry. Somebody said they're having, I hope MA stands for Maine. I was in Maine Monday. They loved it. Because you know what they say in Maine? I can't do it Tuesday because I'll be down the river. I'm like, what? They're down the river. And obviously there's a river in Maine that goes down. I didn't know that. Sorry, Shannon. I like to interrupt. I do that for a living.
It's okay. A couple people have asked how they can get your help or hire you.
Yeah, just email us at admin@specialeducationacademy.com. And if I'm not the right one for you, we have a whole team of amazing advocates as well.
Someone is asking, in which state are you referring to the laws?
Yes. So federal law,
All of them.
it's like federal. So the great thing about this little book is it's a requirement in every state in these great United States. Now, certainly each state is allowed to have their own state regulations with different language, but no state in America is allowed to reduce the benefit of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, which resides at the Code of Federal Regulations, CFR, Title 34, Volume 2 of 4, Parts 300 to 399. So once you learn the federal law, which is like federal, it goes over all the states. So it's interesting when I'm in meetings and lovely people tell me what the federal law is based on what they heard from somebody else who may not have had legal training. We just go back to the federal law because no state, Florida, Minnesota, California, Texas is allowed to reduce the benefit of IDEA. So that's why we train on the federal law. And the book is available in the link in the bio under the Amazon thingy deal. Is it an Amazon thingy deal, Shannon? I feel like it's an Amazon thingy deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Someone asked, do you know the difference between a child on a public and private IEP? I'm assuming they're meaning at a public school or a private school on an IEP.
So you could have an IEP and be at a private school. What you're going to receive is specific related services that the school district granted you. So if you're in a public school, you have availability to all related services and or special education.
My 5-year-old has ADHD, severe behavior problems in school, but is okay academically. Would an IEP benefit him?
So the good news is the federal law doesn't talk about an academic need. It's always an educational need. Say with me, educational need. So all of us have needs, right? We all have behavioral needs, language needs, academic needs, communicative needs, social needs, functional needs. And so any of those things that we do in school that we can address through education falls under an IEP, an individualized education program. So yes, he needs an IEP.
What can I do when a school is not telling me when my child has a behavior or even violent behavior?
So I would want to know if they have behavioral needs. That would warrant for me a daily communication log so that we can both be on the same page about how to mitigate those behaviors. I can't support you. Schools are always, saying the parents don't support us. I can't support what I don't know. And I can't correct something that needs to be corrected. And I can't give you input if I don't know about it.
When a child qualifies for a 504 and IEP, why do schools seem to choose 504 over IEP?
Free. It is free. I don't know. Is there like another, say it with me. Is there a free song? It's free. Yeah. So let me just give you a little hint. One of the attorneys told me this one time at the OCR. We don't give you money to not violate people's civil rights. So a 504 costs your school district $0 to $2. If you don't believe me, there's this article in the Houston Chronicle in 2016 called Denied. It's a great series. It starts in September 2016. And it says a 504 costs the district $0 to $2. I don't know where you live. I can't get a Big Mac for $2. An IEP will cost the district $2,500 to $4,000. So I don't have a college degree. Why don't you tell me why they picked a 504? Why they push so hard for a 504? Why they say stuff like this? Ooh, I like always the air with the teeth thing. I mean, Shannon, you don't. Oof, oh man, you don't want that. You don't want that on their record, do you? I don't know. I'm an adult. I don't have my wallet with me. I don't have a record. I have a Sam's card. I have a couple other things. I don't have a record. Raise your hand in the comments. Any of you have a record from school that you're walking around with? So it is amazing to me the lies that schools are told to tell parents to keep them out of special education.
Is there guidelines to show goals being met by IEP? Communication is lacking.
Are there guidelines? Yeah. Well, I mean, there's not specific guidelines, there are timelines. So the federal law says that IEP progress reports have to be commensurate with the same time that general ed students receive their progress reports. We call those grading periods, right? So for my kiddos, though, I ask for updates every 4 weeks, because then that way, if it's working, we can keep doing that. If it's not working, we can make adjustments. 4 times a year is not enough for me.
Someone says, does it hold less weight than IEP legally?
A 504? I would say a 504 holds, I'm trying to be nice, because really when you look up nice in the dictionary, there I am. But I'd rather be clear than nice. So a 504 is a civil rights law. It is not an education anything. That's why it doesn't say education. It's a simple civil right that says if your child has a disability, they can't be denied accommodations. That was it. It was really put in place in schools to serve kiddos that we don't know what's going on. We just know that they're not producing in class, right? An IEP is an individualized education program to serve children with identified disabilities, to give them support, services, and robust IEP goals to mitigate the impact of their disability. So are they alike? Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. So in 26, 27 years of doing this, I really can think of one child that needed an IEP, that needed a 504. All of my kiddos get an IEP. If you have a disability, I just bet there's something that we could do to teach you how to mitigate the impact of your disability.
How do you add accommodations to an IEP?
Well, accommodations are a required part of an IEP. So an accommodation IEP is something that we put in place as the team, because we know without that accommodation, they won't make gains on their IEP goals. Yes, we do educator training. We do professional development at lovely, amazing, happy school districts. Even unhappy school districts. I love school districts. I love teachers. I know that you guys do it for the fame and the money.
Yeah, definitely for the money.
Well, and when you say money, I mean, really, isn't it just enough to love the children? Can't you take that love to the grocery store and buy a pot roast? No?
For sure. I love that track mom remembered that I love emojis, so I seen them, and then I was like, I'm going to read her question.
Yes, we love emojis.
What if you're not getting progress reports or your IHT hours?
If you're not getting a progress report, that's a violation of IDEA. Any violation of IDEA is a failure to implement a free and appropriate public education. Oh, Kiki said teachers are supposed to do it for the outcome, not for the income. Well, y'all did that for sure. Plus, you get that Friday Franks for thanks. If a principal gave me hot dogs on a Friday, I think I might place one inside of his gas tank. I don't know that I would let go of it, but I would just place it in there. Is that wrong? I don't feel like it is.
Maybe a little bit. Someone asked, where can they get the information? Where did it go, Karen?
On hairspray?
I'm sorry, Drew.
Was it for hairspray? So you guys have been asking. Wait, we just need to stop everything. So this is the hairspray. I feel like you all need it, and then you'll have better IEP meetings. Okay, was that the question? Or no? Or White Rain? I remember White Rain in the 80s. Yes, that was, most of you aren't even alive in the 80s. Can we just all say, those of us who were alive in the 80s, we're so glad they didn't have the TikTok or the YouTube. My daughter's like, Mom, what's the worst thing you did in the 80s? I'm like, we will talk about that later. Like when we're not on the planet. Aquanet. I love Aquanet. When you were committed to the frozen chosen. Yes. And did you get the pink can with the white label or the white label with the pink letters? Because there's a difference. There's a difference, people. One's the 504 and one's the IEP.
Look at all those emojis for what's the name of the book you held up? It's a bunch of poop emojis.
Yeah, this book, it's just the federal law. I mean, have you guys ever seen this at a school district? Like, because it'd be hard to miss, because it's like, I don't know. This is an inch. We all know that this part of your, did you guys know that this part of your hand is an inch? So it's an 1.5-inch book. I would ask your principal where they keep their copy of the federal law. And if we could do a fundraiser for the $40 to get the school one. Yeah. No, yeah, I've never seen that in a school district either. Maybe you could give this to the principal like as a gift. I want you to read this, and then I'll be testing you weekly on each chapter. So somebody asked, what's the number one tip for parents that are advocating for themselves and they're on their own? The number one tip is you have got to have every one of your concerns written down. Your concerns about eligibility, your concerns about testing, your concerns about present levels, your concerns about IEP progress, your concerns about IEP goals, your concerns about accommodations, your concerns about state, daily, and district accommodations, your concerns about district assessments, your concerns about level of non-participation, your concerns about the least restrictive environment, your concerns about the continuum of services, and you're concerned about the schedule of services. How did anybody figure that out? Have it written down and get every question answered. This is your child. This will set them up for success or destruction. So follow your notes, stick the landing, and do not be by some goofball from the school district, which is the legal term, I think, in most states, goofball.
Okay, someone is asking, my child keeps denying their accommodation when teacher tries to apply them. What do I do?
So I find that when a child is actually denying their accommodations, there's a reason for that. It's rare that a kid's going to go, I just don't want my accommodations. I can make something, hey, Billy, come get this. Or I can make it discreet, right? And so sometimes let's try ways to adjust that, right? So are there ways to adjust that, or is it just going to be a bust? But there's a reason. There's always a reason for the behavior. Can we say that together? There's always a reason for the outcome. Let's figure that out.
High school is wanting to change a student's IEP to 504 end of senior year. Why?
Yes, correct. Why? Yes, I agree. Why? Yeah. Yes, behavior is
sorry, go ahead.
Behavior is communication, and I have a lot of them. I just want to say that for the record.
You're a very good communicator.
I'm full of behaviors. I don't know if y'all have noticed that. Yeah.
Not at all. Someone said, what do you do if the school doesn't respond?
Oh, to not respond is to yell. Write that down. To not respond is to yell. So I'll say, hey, Shannon, this is me emailing you back for the second time. Hey, Shannon, this is me emailing you back with no response for the fourth time. And then after that, I'm going to email on the hour, and I'm going to call a special education director and say this feels like retaliation, which is a violation of my civil rights. Can you do something to help me on that? And then at the very end, you add this. Bloop. When you do that, everything changes. The bloop.
Someone said, how can I get my son out of the most restrictive environment? He has no communication or behavioral issues.
Data. Data drives all things. Data drives settings, placement, support. So you have to bring the data that supports that. Data drives all decisions. And I think that parents get in there and they're passionate and they start to beg, but you have to have the data that supports that. So when you have a restrictive setting, it's very important to know that I work my tail off to get kids in a more restrictive, I call it more supported setting, and I can't get them, right? But we often just make unilateral decisions and place a kiddo somewhere with no data. So I'm going to ask the school for the data that supports this is his LRE, his least restrictive environment. And then we're going to take 3 more questions because I've got to reapply the lipstick before the Special Education Academy because that is state law. Oh, I think it's important that we make this actually a clip on the TikTok. Okay, Alicia? So people ask me about my lipstick. Actually, Bria asked me. So this is, I'm no Michaela and I'm no Bethany. because I eat food. But this is this is Revlon Color Stay Matte Lip Crayon for the win. This is for the win. So if you want this, it stays all day, and you can put stuff over the top of it, which I think is kind of the most important thing on my channel for people to know.
This is a good question. What is the best way to deal with terrible advocate who seems to only be in it for the money and not for the parents?
Is it a school-based member asking that question? If it's a school-based member asking that question, you need to have, somebody at the school needs to also make sure that there's not unruly behavior happening at the meeting, right? So I would say to that advocate, it's very uncomfortable when you're this aggressive in meetings and doesn't give us an opportunity to collaborate. I would say that to anybody in the meeting. So there's also people in the meeting that start to be aggressive, to start an aggressive moment. So it's very important, as we say in our trainings, that when somebody throws down the bait, you don't pick it up. Like I said to somebody Monday in Florida, I'm not really sure why you're yelling, but you won't be testing the student. If you're yelling when we requested testing, you're not going to be professional enough to test the student. So anybody that's not in a business meeting shouldn't be participating in an IEP meeting. This is just a conversation. This is what I say in meetings. We're not having an argument. We're not arguing, because sometimes they get heated. And people at the IEP table will get loud or whatever, and I'll say, we're not arguing. We're not arguing. We're having a conversation. People have conversations all the time. Why would we need to agree in a conversation? So, and then if it gets like that, I'm just going to say we need to take a break. Whatever. And then if I was a school-based member, I would just come back and say, does it look like we're going to be successful today collaborating? Let's look at our books to a date to reconvene when we can collaborate.
I like it. It was a good answer. Good job.
Was that a good answer?
I liked it.
Yeah.
See, somebody used emojis. Caught my attention.
Yeah. Emojis. We are emoji fanatics.
My daughter's speech teacher refuses to give the data. She said it's her personal notes.
No. Yeah. So it's your personal notes if you don't work in a public school and receive federal funds. Buttercup. You always want to end with Buttercup. So obviously she's doesn't understand anything about the federal law, because you're taking data on my child that you receive federal funds for. So let's not do that, tiny dancer. Look at all the emojis. Now people we really like that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't see the new emojis, but I did see this question and it made me stop scrolling.
Oh, so they're like little book emojis. Where do you get those?
Oh, okay. Listen, focus. Is the school at fault when a child is not medicated for behavior and the IEP is not met?
So the school being at fault, so when we say at fault, I always say the IEP team, which includes everybody from evaluators to principals. So if a child's not medicated, that's nobody's business. It's nobody's business whether your child takes a medicine or not. We have a responsibility and a duty to implement the IEP to the best of our ability to help mitigate the impact of their disability. Sometimes their behavioral needs or their emotional needs might, not best be served by their home campus, which is part of our training tonight in the academy, and they would need out-of-district placement. But again, it's not somebody else's business to ask me if I want to give my 7-year-old who has a 7-year-old liver and a 7-year-old kidney, if I should give them Schedule II narcotics. So, there's that.
All right, last question. You ready?
Is it really good?
I'm looking for one that'll be the good one.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the books one. Hold on.
Oh, we like the books. I don't even know where the books are.
Okay, here it is. Okay, ready?
Yes.
Can you discuss exclusionary factors of SLDs?
Oh my gosh, love this. Love this. So, exclusionary factors. So, when we're talking about a child that has a specific learning disability, and there's 9 areas, 9, not that anybody likes to talk about that. It's very rare that you would actually have exclusionary factors. We're looking for something that's not in the normed range, right? An outlier. And that can be done through special education testing, and some states are all goofy, and they're like, it has to be 22.5 points across, right? But at the end of the day, the federal government and all state regulations, you might have to dig for them, say that you can still use the RTI process. So special factors would be, as they're very rare, right? And of course, if those are in place, that would greatly impact your findings and your conclusion. I don't find that to actually really be the situation often, but they're there sometimes.
Okay. The people are asking, are we going to give them a code for the Academy tonight?
Yep, you are. And all of y'all are going to type it in. Go.
All right. So everybody listen, because I only got time to explain this once.
And she is not kidding when she
says... Go to the website, www.specialeducationacademy.com. I just put it in the chat. You're going to click on the training tab. You're going to go down to the third option. I'm sorry, Jude yelling. You're going to go down to the third option, which is the Academy. You're going to fill out your information. And at the bottom, next to the MasterCard symbol, it says, have a coupon, ? And in all caps, where's Kiki at? Kiki, all caps, TikTok Live is the coupon code. You get 15 days free in the Academy. Karen, tell them everything they get because Jude's stimming behind me.
So we have hundreds of hours of training on Special Education Academy. So you'll have access to that over 2 years of training. Workbooks, I go live every Tuesday night. Don't know that I've ever missed one, and we make it up on training on the federal law. So you would do all caps. This is my beautiful handwriting. It's probably backwards. Is this backwards for y'all? Okay, so if it's backwards, I don't know how to write those. But it's TikTok Live in all caps. Can you see that I did not have occupational therapy for fine motor? But people that write in all caps, they're either murderers or genius. So anyway, I feel like I'm a genius because, the whole thing would get, yes. So if it's backwards, do I do it like this? Kiki, does that help? Does that make it not backwards? So it's TikTok Live. So if you don't know how to spell TikTok, it doesn't have any C's. These do. But TikTok does not have any C's. So TikTok Live. TikTokLive. So you'll put in all of your information. You'll have a free membership for 15 days. If you don't want the membership after 15 days, you just opt out. No payment is charged, but we would love to have you. We start at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time every Tuesday. We love it. There's hundreds of people in the Academy. You can ask any questions. We open up at the end of every training for school-based members, parents. Probably 2/3 of the people in the Academy are school-based members. We love them because they're smarty pantses, and we love you. So remember, when you get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody. If you have any questions...
Hold on. Wait. I'm sorry. Don't hang up on them yet.
Did she say hold on? Hold.
I'm going to put in the step-by-step instructions in the chat. Everybody can take a picture.
Is there a chat?
It's in the chat. It's coming.
Okay. Look how smart y'all are.
Take some screenshots. All right. It's all in there. Give them a second to take screenshots.
Am I in the screenshot? Hold on. Yeah.
Yes, your face is in the screenshot.
Yeah. Call up Mary said it. Hold on. H-O-D. Hold on.
All right. Now, if you have any problems, you're going to email me. I'm going to put my email in the chat. Take a screenshot because it's a different one than y'all normally get.
And if it's hard to understand her, she's from another country called Louisiana. So God bless Louisiana.
All right. You got to go, boss.
Okay, so somebody says they still don't see the website, so it's specialeducationacademy.com. We love you. Remember, we'll see you next Tuesday when we get it right for the child. We get it right for everybody. We'll see you guys in the next training.